B-Pod Studios.
This is Talkin' Rock. Talkin' Rock. Your backstage pass to some of your favorite rock artists. Here's your host, Meltdown.
Once again, lots to get to on this week's episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. I've compiled interviews I did throughout the entire week and put it up on the podcast every single Friday. And this week, it's no different. Sammy Hagar, Doug Aldrich, and Nate Peck from Firehouse coming up on the show here in a bit. But we start with the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar. He's got this new song in tribute to his late friend, Eddie Van Halen. We talk about that. I asked him a crazy question, which was, do you ever regret joining Van Halen? Because he seems to have had to deal with so much drama from band members, family members, and everything like that. So he answers that question, and it's one of these interviews where I was called by a third person, this woman, Hannah, who's very nice. But at one point, she actually interjected because our time was running out. I didn't know how much time we had. She didn't tell me. And a lot of these instances, I don't want to know. I'm just going to keep talking until they tell me I can't anymore, which did happen here. But Sammy's always great to talk with. I've talked with him several times before.
Meltdown. I'm just cracking up at your name. It's like, Hannah's going. I said, "This is Meltdown, man." Well, him and I have had some discussions before. you don't forget a name like this,
That is true. Yeah, I think the first time I met you was many years ago. You were on the golf outing with us here in Detroit, and you were driving the golf cart around, handing out tequila to everybody. And you said something about that.
Oh, that was a Cabo Wabo tequila promotion.
That's right.
I don't play golf, sir.
Right.
You
exactly.
understand that? I was driving the cart, and
yes.
I probably shouldn't have been driving the cart either. By the way,
that is true. Yeah, you said, oh, the Mexican Meltdown. That was your thing for your birthday bash or something like that. So, anyways, well, good to connect again with you, man. This song, Encore, Thank You, Goodnight. I was just talking with Hannah about this, and she said, yeah, it's on all sorts of charts and also on the digital charts as well. So you're like ripping up the airwaves and social media or streaming or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised because honestly, the song is important. And I think anybody in rock like yourself, once you realize what this song is about and you hear it, you realize how good it is. And I'm not bragging because it's my song. It's freaking good. Joe Satriani did a killer job of just channeling Eddie and everything. But it's an important song. It has to be shared. And that's why I think the fans and the radio stations and everyone in the streaming people, they've all been very receptive to it because I think it needs to be heard. The story needs to be heard. Eddie's gone, and you sit there and you go, I can never write a song with him again. And then I have this friggin' dream, and we wrote a song in the dream. I'm going, this is too special. This is not just your typical jive story about a song or just some made up song, man. This is a real deal. And so, yeah, I'm really happy that the way it's been accepted. And I'm very happy with the song, too, by the way.
Now, yeah, it's great. Now, you were just talking about this. I saw this, I think, on your socials or something. You were talking about how it's like closing a chapter. Did you feel that things were open until you wrote this song?
Well, no, I didn't feel it was open. I just felt like there wasn't a conclusion. Eddie and I never got back together and did it one more time. You know what I mean? Like, that's always the dream, is just one more time. A band breaks up or whatever happens, even look at, Mike Tyson, fighters, they always say, man, come on, just one more time, and I realized that could never happen. And then I had that dream and I thought, well, something really did happen. This is as close to, trying to write a song with Eddie Van Halen as you're going to get in today's world, you know?
Yeah.
So, to bring Joe in, I had to bring Joe in because as a musician, I'm not capable of writing that kind of music. Like the intro on that song, which is actually this part of it's called Encore. It's got 3 titles because it's songs in 3 pieces. Encore, what Joe played in there is I can't play that, and I don't even look at him and see what's he doing. I ain't even bothering with that. I ain't going to torture myself. So it took somebody like that to really bring this to life, and I feel it made a closure because. One other thing about the closure side of it, it's like I had the dream, And then I thought, wow. And then I wrote it with Joe, and then we recorded it. Mikey comes in with those beautiful vocals and pounding ass bass, Kenny on drums. It's like I would have loved to have had Al on this song. I'm not trying to open a can of worms here, but Al's not playing anymore. So, and he probably wouldn't have done it anyway because Al and I seem to have a problem. Maybe you have to ask him what that is, because I don't know what it is, but he must know. But anyway, Kenny Aronoff is a bad mofo.
Yep.
And so then going in and recording it, and then going and rehearsing it and playing it on stage. We opened every night at the residency. Well, we opened 8 nights with that song, and the 9th night we opened with something else, and we ended with that song. But we played it 9 times, and that is conclusion. That is like, it's like dream, thought, word, action, and it all happened. And that just, I don't know, it feels like closure to me. I feel like, yeah, okay, now I can't do anything else with Eddie. I can dream about him. I can listen to our music that we made together. I can look at pictures, but I've kind of decided it's done, and it was, I don't know, it's very healthy for me. It was, mentally very healthy. It didn't ever leave that question mark. What if? Well, what if? Well, guess what? We just showed you what if. Have Eddie and I wrote a song together? Here it is. This is it.
Now,
closest you're going to get.
You said Al didn't want to play, or you haven't talked to him in whatever. You've talked about that before. But what about Wolfgang? Did you ever reach out to him?
Yeah, I did. Wolfie was out on tour, and I actually sent him the song. It was before it was done. Before it was mixed, before we had actually said it was completely done. I sent it out, and through Valerie's brother, Patrick, who works with Wolfie. He's an old friend. And, I definitely – I would have had – my first thought was, man, if I could get Alex and I get Wolfie and Mikey, and we go in and at 5150 and record this, it would have been the ultimate. But, people's schedules are weird. And like I said, Al and I don't necessarily have a great relationship right now. Like I said, ask him. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But anyway, it would have been really awesome. But honestly, I didn't want to also push and drag Wolfie into this thing, because Wolfie's doing his own thing. God bless him, man. I'm so proud that he's avoided the Van Halen tribute band and going out and being his dad.
Yeah.
He's carved his own way. God bless him, man. He took a lot of heat in the beginning. I don't know if you remember, but the fans on Instagram and all that, they were crucifying him. Oh, your dad, you should be playing your dad's music, and it just don't sound like your dad's music. Hell no, it don't sound like his dad's music, and it shouldn't. So anyway, he's leave that boy alone. When he's ready, I would say, hey, Wolf, let's go do a residency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just play all the Van Halen stuff. And that would be awesome. Just do a one-off someplace or something. He would be fantastic. But no, he's doing his own thing, man. Let that boy do his thing, as John Lee Hooker said.
Yeah,
let that boy boogie.
That would be awesome to see a residency with you and Wolf. It's funny because I was thinking about this. I knew I was going to talk to you for a while. We've talked many times before in the past. You're such a good dude. And it's like you join this band, and there's so much drama that goes around in this band, even after Eddie's been gone and stuff. And it's like, with the exception of like the money and obviously the timeless music you guys made, is there ever like a party that's like, man, that has any regrets of being in Van Halen? I know it's kind of a stupid question, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, hell no.
No.
Oh, no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah.
I regret that we broke up. Just to see what else we could have done. I would have loved to have made another record or two with Eddie, writing. Eddie and I wrote some great songs together, and I think the best stuff was yet to come. It could have been yet to come because, Eddie was really reaching out on instruments. Last time I talked to Eddie before he passed, I said, man, what are you playing? He said, oh, man, I'm really been playing a lot of cello. And I'm going, cello? Holy shit. Play me something, dude. I'm ready to write a song with you on cello. I mean, you know what I mean? As artists, Eddie and I were really capable of doing a lot of stuff that he couldn't do before me because, the other guys didn't want keyboards. And, when I walked in the room with Eddie, he'd show me 2 guitar songs. When I joined, on the 5150, he showed me Good Enough, and he showed me Summer Nights. Those are 2 riffs he had. And then what did he do? He went and sat down at the piano. and he started playing all this stuff, and I'm going, whoa, what? Ooh. He's going, dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, starts playing the riff to Dreams. He's sitting there playing, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, Love Walks In. He's just playing all these things on keyboards, and I'm going, wow, I had no idea he was that good of a keyboard player. So, he really wanted to expand as a musician. To me, I think that's what his dream would have been, and it was always held back by, the record companies and the people around him. I think we would have broke out of that within a year and started doing some really crazy stuff. Now, all the hardcore Van Halen fans have to say, no, you would have ruined it. We want we want pound cake. We want, but. It's all good, man. It's all good. That's the only regret I have. I regret nothing about being in that band. It's the greatest thing ever happened to me. I will never reach that pinnacle again in my musical career, and I don't even try for it. It's like, why even try? Can't do it.
Well,
those times are gone, and I'm proud to have been there.
I was going to say,
sorry to interrupt. I got to keep them on a tight schedule. So have this be the last question.
Okay, all right, last question.
Melt me down with this next one. Melt me down.
Sorry about that. I'll just ask you. It's just a simple question about the Ozzy thing coming up. No, you've probably talked about that quite a bit. The final Ozzy show, man. I mean, that's quite an honor. You've mentioned that. You've known Ozzy probably for decades and decades. So this is so cool. You get to be a part of this thing.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. I love Ozzy. And trying to sing these songs, like I had my choice of almost anything I wanted to do. And at first I chose No More Tears, and then that was going to be my song, and I'm going to do one of mine. So I thought I'll do Rock Candy because first time I know Ozzy liked that song. The Black Sabbath, and Montrose were kind of like parallel bands, back then. And so I figured their audience will appreciate Rock Candy. And then they said, oh no, Ozzy says he wouldn't mind. He wants to try and sing that song if you don't mind. And what else would you want to do? And I said, oh, man, tell Ozzy I'll be happy to do Flying High again. Oh, great. So I'm learning both these songs, and I'm going, Ozzy was a great singer, man. You don't think about his melodies. They were so unusual. It's like, God, it's trying to sing those songs without sounding like Ozzy's tough. I'm sitting there finding myself going, flying high again, instead of singing it the way I would sing it, And so it's going to be cool, man. Oh, man, I'm so excited about this.
Well, Sammy, always great to get a few moments of your time. Do appreciate it. Encore, thank you. Goodnight is out right now. Of course, maybe another Vegas residency, and have fun at that final Ozzy show with Black Sabbath.
Peace and love in Detroit. I love y'all, and I will see you by hook or by crook. We're going to work this out. Adios, amigos.
Doug Aldrich from the band Dead Daisies is up next. They have a new album out today as I record this on Friday, May 30th. It's called Looking for Trouble, and it's pretty much their rebranding of classic blues songs that they recorded at Muscle Shoals in the Fame Recording Studios. So there's this documentary out about it right now as well, which is really cool. We talk about that. We talk about their renditions of these songs. And then we get into some other talk about Whitesnake and some of the other bands that Doug's had the privilege to play in. So all in all, and I can't forget about health. We talk about Doug's health right off the get-go because Doug had to fight some cancer in 2024. Looks like he's on the other side of that and doing really well. And like I say in the interview, he's such a good dude. Actually, after this interview, he talked to me for another 10 minutes telling me all sorts of rock stories. Just a great guy. Doug Aldrich from Dead Daisies is up next.
I'm doing good, Meltdown. Thank you, brother.
You have guitar will travel. You're like my friend John 5. Do you ever put that thing down?
There's always some practicing that needs to happen. It's like keeping the old digits moving.
That's right. Always some noodling. So last time we talked was before your cancer scare and stuff. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It was pretty brutal while I was going through it. And people just would be like, it's just a bump in the road, bro. You're going to be back to normal, in no time. And when I was going through it, I was like, oh my God, this is not a bump in the road. This is really not good. But now it feels like that. It feels like it was just a bump in the road. So I would encourage people to always be positive with whatever you got going on health-wise. Just try to, look after yourself and get stuff diagnosed as fast as you can, whatever it might be, even if it's a tooth problem, you don't want that to turn into, the longer you wait, the more problems you have. So, but I'm doing great. My wife really helped me so much with scheduling because you go through some surgery and radiation, all this stuff, and there's like pills and potions and gargling for days and this and that. I was like, it was a full-time job, man, keeping all that stuff on track.
Yeah.
So she helped me, and I was, I was home, so it was good.
That's great, man. I mean, we've only talked once or twice before, but I can just tell you're a good dude. And when I heard that, I was really praying and pulling for you. And I'm glad to see you're out on the other side and now getting back out on the road and getting back with the boys.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it because, those prayers from you definitely helped all the people. It really made a huge difference, not just to, sending that out into the world to the heavens, but also just making me feel good that people were sending good wishes. It really helped a lot.
Yeah. Besides your wife, who else did you lean on? Anybody else?
Not really. She and I just kind of hunkered down, and she helped me with all that stuff. And, I didn't want to affect I didn't want to affect too many people. I didn't tell my parents the full story of what was going on. I didn't really want to get into having people. I don't want people to worry too much, about, there was stuff online that I put online. So because people were wondering what's going on, and I just felt like I better put it out there in full disclosure, just so I don't have to worry about, what story I told or whatever. But like my parents don't go online, so they didn't know. So I was just, my mom was like, "What's going on?" I got a few little issues, and we're taking care of with the doctor, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, I'm getting like full on, neck surgery and radiation, and it was, just good to keep it low key in the house, getting great wishes, well wishes from everybody, and just taking it day by day. And now it's like there's always a few little remnants of stuff that you still got to deal with, but every single day is like a little bit better every day. So next month I'll be, that much better. That's great. And you guys, when do you start your tour? You're going over to Europe, correct? Yeah, we're leaving in about a week and a half, and it's mostly like Germany, Poland, Netherlands, stuff like that. There's a few in Belgium. There's a few festivals we're doing, like Grass Pop in Belgium, and based on the dates. But people could definitely go to deaddaisies.com and see what we got coming up. And obviously we have a new record out today, so there's that. New record. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's get right into it. Looking for Trouble. You guys put out like this short little documentary as well, talking about it. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Sinners. Have you seen that movie yet? No. Okay, so Sinners kind of takes place back in the 1920s, and it has that same vibe, and it's kind of loosely based on this blues player, and it's a horror movie at the end of the day. But there was a lot of stuff. There was like it's kind of two movies put together. It's like almost like this documentary of the 1920s and the music and stuff. And then it becomes From Dusk Till Dawn. Anyways, but that's kind of what it reminded me of a little bit. In that documentary that you guys shot, you go through every single song. You talk about the legends that perform these songs. Where did this idea come from for you guys to cover all these blues legend songs? I think originally John had an idea that we'd start to bang around on some stuff, and John was like, "Yeah, this could be really cool." And when we were in Muscle Shoals, that studio is called Fame Studios, and every day they would do a tour, and they would talk about all the people that recorded there and started their career there, and to Wilson Pickett, to Etta James, and then there was all these artifacts there, like Aretha Franklin's piano, or like a handwritten letter from Duane Allman that was, January 1, 1969 or whatever it was. He's just writing a letter saying, this year I want to try to become a better man. I want to be more kind to mankind, and I want to play guitar better than I ever have. And it was just cool to see this stuff there. And it led us into, jamming on stuff and being really inspired to do a treatment of our own on all these songs.
Now, while you were there, did you put anything in the can for any upcoming albums?
Actually, we were there we were there to write for our last rock record. And it was, this blues project was kind of like a happy surprise. It was like a bonus, because we weren't really there in the beginning, we weren't really there. We were there to write, and we went to this place to be inspired to write. And we did come up with great stuff for the last album, but we also got this stuff. We cut it live, and it was just in the can. And why it didn't come out first, I don't know. But like, actually right around that time, right after we did this, Slash had put out his blues album.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe that's why they wanted to hold off on it, just so it had some distance between the two. But yeah, we went there with the intent to write. And when we're writing in that situation, we're just trying to, get some decent tones and stuff just to document the ideas. And we went back to Nashville to record that rock record. But while we were there and we had the sounds and we started to dabble in this blues thing, and John goes, "Hey, this could be really cool. Let's have a go with Crossroads. Let's see what we can do." And we had Sarah Tomac on drums, she's like a really famous session player from Nashville, plays on everybody's records. And she was like, "Okay, the Crossroads, what do you want to do?" And it was like, we just found a groove that worked, and it turned into our own version of Crossroads. We didn't want to do covers of stuff the way that other bands did it. Like Cream did an amazing, obviously it's a famous version of Crossroads. So we did our own thing, and we did our own thing to each one of them, and it was just inspiring and fun, and we kept it totally live. It was like with mistakes or whatever. It is what it was.
Mm-hmm. And why did Sarah play on this record? Where was Tommy?
Tommy was off doing other things, and we were just in the writing. We were planning on just writing, so it didn't really bother us too much. But of course, Tommy's a great player, and we've been playing some of this stuff live, and Tommy kills it. And he, Tommy would have done an equally great job, but each person's a little different, and I think that the fates put it that Sarah was there, and she is, like I said, she's such a seasoned player. She can play anything. So when we were trying to dig deep and look for grooves for stuff like Black Betty or changing the time signature of The Thrill Is Gone or whatever, she was, all right, well, what do you want here? Do you want a Texas shuffle? Do you want a shuffle, or do you want a Chicago shuffle? Or what do you, she knew all this stuff, and it was really inspiring. Yeah, so it was great.
No, that's awesome. And so the first single that came out was Boom Boom, and it's kind of funny because in the video, it's pretty much just John, and he's walking. I don't know, where was he walking? Is that over in Europe somewhere?
Yeah, that's in Lyon, France, and it's really, what they captured that day with the way the clouds were and stuff. I love it. I actually love videos like that where it's not, the band jumping around and stuff. It's like, the singer's the guy that is the guy. He's the guy that everybody wants to talk to, and it just made sense. Let's just do something that's artsy in a way, and shows John singing it, and John's a cool cat anyway, so it was good.
And I always wonder whenever I see something like that, do you guys have to get permission from some of those people that were walking around to be in this video? Because there was a woman that was walking next to him for half the song.
That's a good question. I actually don't know. They might have, because the last thing you want to do is just put something out and then have somebody come and go, "Hey, pay me." But it wouldn't surprise me if they double checked, because our social media team and the photographer that was filming that video he's working with the team, and I think they're pretty good at making sure all the T's are crossed and whatnot.
Yeah. Now, Tommy, of course, is from here. You just mentioned Aretha Franklin. Have you ever been, Muscle Shoals and whatnot? Have you ever been to the Hitsville, USA here, the Motown Museum here in Detroit?
No, but Tommy has, and he says it's really cool. And like you say, it's that. Well, I don't know if you said it, but that is a whole different side of the blues right there, or the early stages of rock and roll that was going on there in Detroit area.
Yeah, and you mentioned, like, when you on the documentary, this is where Dwayne Allman stood and all this stuff, but it's like at Hitsville, USA, you can see the candy machine that Stevie Wonder would get candy out of, and just different cool things. They have a studio downstairs as well.
That's awesome, man. I'll have to check that out next time we're over there, and hopefully, early next year we'll be in the States over there. They're actually talking about a few dates later this year, but I don't know any details yet.
Now, as far as you're concerned, which song stands out to you on this album, in your opinion? I
mean, I really am blown away by Boom Boom, the reaction it's got. It's not, it's not like a kick-ass, it's not, it's more of a chilled, laid back barbecue type of, let's marinate on this thing and just let it rock, and I really dig it. I don't know. I think Black Betty probably is the keystone to the album, because we really came up with a whole different vibe on that. It's very simple, but it feels good. And in fact, the whole album is really simple, but I would say Black Betty, for me, that and The Thrill Is Gone was really fun and interesting and a challenge and scary and all kinds of stuff, man. Trying to do a number on a song that B.B. King just did perfectly. I mean, where do you go from there? So I suggested, could we give it a shot and see what we do? And it turned into a really, deep blues kind of sadder version of that song. And then and all of a sudden we came up with a new musical part that we tagged on the end. It was just kind of a descending line. And it was just cool, so it's different.
Looking for Trouble is out right now as we talk. And like I said, you got to see that movie Sinner. If you're flying over to Europe, maybe it'll be on your screen there in front of you.
Is it out right now?
Yeah, it came out like about a month ago.
Oh, I'll definitely be looking that up.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, say again?
No, I was just going to say there's a few movies that this record's going to make me want to go back and, like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That was a great movie with George Clooney and I forget the actor's name, but even stuff like Crossroads, the movie Crossroads. I want to go back and revisit that,
If you see Sinners, by the way, I won't spoil it for you, but stay through the credits, and there is an end scene with a famous blues man. We'll just say that.
Cool. So, I definitely will.
So, yeah. So, like I said, that's out right now. Speaking of Tommy, he texted me. I told him I was going to be talking to you. I said, give me a question. And he wanted to know what the facial hair philosophy was in Whitesnake.
Oh, that's funny. There was, originally when David put the band back together and me and Reb and Tommy Aldrich and Marco and Timothy Drury, maybe Reb had a little facial hair. Reb has always had a little cool thing going on, but it was very kept, He basically just didn't like facial hair, David, and especially as we were getting older, there would be some gray, and he'd be like, Douglas, there's no gray snakes in Whitesnake, it's like, okay, DC, I'll get some, basically, I didn't really ever have a beard. I was just trying to, he might have been talking about, somebody else. Or at one point, Michael Devin, it was so funny, man, because David was like, he just wasn't into it. And Michael Devin, meanwhile, on his off time, had grown a really killer looking beard. And this was like way before everyone was growing beards. And Michael just liked it. He was like, I'm not trying to prove anything. I just like it. It's just comfortable. My girlfriend likes it. I don't want to shave, And David started to and we were working on a record, and David started to ask him, like, hey, why don't you come up and do some vocals? And, we're going to have to come up and do bass anyways at some point. And Michael kept putting it off. And David was like, Douglas, why is Michael avoiding me? It's like somehow he got the word that Michael had a beard, or he saw a picture somewhere, I don't know. And he was like, Michael, it would be great to see you once you shave that Don beard. There's those. And then David's son, Jasper, said, actually, I think it looks pretty cool. And then David's wife goes, yeah, it looks pretty cool. And then, oh, you think so, do you? Okay. And it was just like, but yeah, there's the saying that Tommy's probably talking about is there's no gray snakes in Whitesnake.
That might be it. It's so funny how you imitate David too. It's like when Zach talks about what Ozzy's saying. You always got to do the voice, right?
Well, David and Ozzy, those guys are larger than life. They have those voices that everybody knows. I mean, David especially, like he does some at Christmas time. He does like the night before Christmas and reads it on YouTube and stuff. And anytime he speaks, it's just entertaining. He always calls people. He would always say Douglas.
Yeah.
Unless he was upset with me, then he would say Doug. But Douglas. Or rebellious when he was talking to Reb. He never called him Reb, like rebellious, rebel. And, so that's just how he's a statesman, he's a statesman from England. And Ozzy was the same way. Ozzy's got that voice. It's just, and Corabi, yeah. Corabi's got that voice too, whatever, dude. He's got a little Philadelphia accent to him, John Corabi. I can't really do him properly the justice, but he's got his own thing.
Yeah, I talked about this on the air the other day. I've done hundreds of interviews, maybe 1,000. I'm not sure. And nobody's ever called me darling except for David Coverdale.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah, he would definitely, he's got his own language sometimes,
Yeah. And plus, I don't know, does he have any time to himself because he's on Twitter nonstop?
He took to that pretty much, and like certain people, they really do a lot of communication to people on Twitter. He's always posting and reposting. He's got a lot of time, right now. I think he's semi-retired or whatever. And I think they're talking about him doing, he'll always have offers to tour or to do a residency or whatever. But I think he's worked really hard his whole life, and he's just enjoying it right now.
Yeah, he did something the other day about wine or something. I wanted to get a screen grab of it and send it to one of my friends. And I went back through his feed, and it was like 20 posts ago. And it was like, 12 hours. I'm like, Jesus, dude. I couldn't believe how much he posts.
Yeah, I think he gets, he's got a whole entourage, a whole people that he gets those joke things and memes and different stuff, and he'll immediately, if he sees something funny, he'll kind of pop it out there, Yeah,
that's great. Hey, you mentioned Reb. I'm sure I've met him, but I think it was like 30 years ago. I've never interviewed him before. What was he like to play with?
He's great, Reb. I mean, in the very beginning, Reb and I had a little bit of a competition going, and it was like, David, I think, kind of liked that. He liked having two guitar players that were kind of different, and so we were trying to find our way, and he would say like, yeah, Doug got all the solos, and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You're playing Here I Go Again and Slide It In, two of the biggest songs ever. And Reb did a great job with that stuff. Especially there's one song that he really nailed so good, was The Deeper the Love. That solo was better than the record, which is saying something. But yeah, and then after a few years of playing together, I realized that Reb is a free spirit. He's like a wild horse. You can't tame him. You can't. Reb, let's do this thing like this every day, because he's just the best when he's going off the cuff free. So me and Tommy and Marco we would kind of lay down the solid bed, and Reb would kind of do his thing on top, which made it really special. And then, I'd start to hear live tapes of us, and I really started to embrace the difference of me and Reb together, what it brought So it was cool. And he's a funny cat, man. He's got stories. He's got stories that will just have you on the floor laughing. So he's really fun to tour with. And he basically was on tour all the time that we worked together. He would be on tour with Whitesnake as a priority, and then he'd jump right back into doing Winger or whatever else he wanted to do. And meanwhile, I just would take time off and I'd start writing. We started to get that thing going with new music for Whitesnake, which was important.
Yeah. Now, this might be a stupid question. Are you still involved in the Whitesnake camp at all?
No. David's got a killer band with Joel.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what they're doing. I know David's put out a lot of re-releases and different stuff that we did, with extra bits. I think there was just a live DVD, a live box set that came out that has a couple of concerts in it, and but he's busy doing that stuff right now. And I basically, since the time that I joined the Dead Daisies, it's really been a priority. And I did do a few things in the beginning when I joined the band, outside of the band. But around the time when Glenn Hughes came in, I basically dedicated 100% because I wanted to make sure, first of all, when Glenn came in, that he was comfortable, and we had to, adjust our writing style, our writing, how would you say it? The writing process. Mm-hmm. We had to adjust that when Glenn came because he's a whole different person. With John, we sit down together, everybody, and we just go through stuff together, and including doing arrangements on this Looking for Trouble record. We just sit down and we're all in it together like a family. And with certain other situations, people will bring certain other bands or situations, people will bring more completed ideas, and then you still put your touches on it and tear it down or do whatever. But so I've been 100% dedicated to what we're doing, and I'm super excited about this record, obviously, because it's something different,
Yeah, I saw you guys when you played here with Glenn, and man, I got to tell you, Glenn's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the greats. I mean, how lucky have I been to work with Glenn Hughes and Coverdale and Dio and Karabi, and even I worked with Kelly Hansen from Foreigner for several years, and my first singer, my first band in LA when I was a kid was a band called Lion, and the singer of Lion was Cal Swan he was from Britain, and he was, I've just been really lucky with singers. I can't even believe it, actually.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the Dio because you're talking about it. That's when I started getting into rock and roll back then. And I only had a chance to meet Dio one time, but Lizzie Hale told me something one time. She said that Dio said to her that you'll never remember the names of the faces or where you meet these people, but they'll always remember you. So be nice to everybody. And that's kind of how he was when I met him.
That's good advice, and he would actually remember people's names a lot of times. And Karabi does too. Karabi can remember people. He's got a memory like that. I'll tell you what, a story of rock stars remembering people's names. I had the opportunity to meet Randy Rhoads when I was a kid. When I was 18, I first came to LA, and a guy that I made friends with, I met him at the Troubadour. He called me on my phone. I just had a little apartment, like a little studio, and my phone did get cut off after I was here about 3 months. But before I got cut off, this guy called me and he says, "Hey, Randy's going to be playing a couple songs down at the Whiskey tonight. Do you want to go see that?" And I'm like, Randy who? And he's like, Randy Rhoads. I go, "You mean the English guy from Ozzy's band?" And he goes, "He's not from England. He's from Burbank." I go, "Randy Rhoads, the guitar player, the blonde guy, plays the Les Paul and the cool kind of weird flang." "Yeah, Randy Rhoads." I go there. He used to take lessons from Randy. He goes, "I used to take lessons with him." I'm like, oh my God. So we go meet Randy, and about a week later, my buddy calls me back and he goes, "Hey, Randy's playing again. He's in town again. He's going to play again with Kevin DuBrow. Do you want to come see him?" And I go, "Hell yeah." And I walk in the Whiskey, And I had met him, and I told him how much I was blown away by him on the previous thing. But when I walked in a week later, he goes, "Hey, Doug, how you doing, man?" I was just like, "Whoa, Randy, wow!" It blew me away. I mean, I was just a kid, and he remembered my name, and it just made me. I was just, out of my mind with that. So I think it's great advice that he gave Lizzie, and she's like that. Lizzie is a super. Yeah, really kind-hearted artist. She's great.
It's funny you say that. You thought he was English because back then, kids, all you had was magazines. And if you didn't meet him or if you didn't see him on TV, how would you know? Now we get the internet. You can see what everybody's doing.
I know. It's almost, it's great, but it's almost like you miss that mystery.
Yeah.
That was like, I mean, going to concerts as a kid, it wouldn't even have dawned on me that maybe the band's staying in a hotel down from the venue, or maybe we could go to the venue early and see soundcheck. It just never even occurred to me. And we went to every concert from Aerosmith to Sabbath to, everything. And that day I look back at it, I'm like, we walked out of this theater after getting our heads blown away by Randy and Ozzy, with his new band with Tommy, Aldrich, and Rudy. And there's a tour bus ride. I just didn't even think about it. They're probably just sitting on the bus having a beer or whatever. It just never occurred to me.
And it's so that you've been able to meet or play with a lot of these guys.
I know. It's crazy. I've been so lucky. I mean, I'm just all around, thank God, man. Thanks to God. I'm really lucky for a lot of reasons. I've had a long career, and I still got a lot to show and do. And I working with this band with John and Michael, Devin, and Tommy, and it's like a family. It feels like a band that I was in when I was 20. It feels like that.
Well, the new record's out here, Looking for Trouble. That's important, but more importantly, your health, and it's really great to see it. And I'm super excited for you with the new record, and of course, the clean bill of health. And as you say, every day you get a little bit better, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, so I got my blood work done about 3 months after the last procedure, after the last radiation, and my blood came back perfect.
Oh, awesome.
And I had you got to get a full body scan like every 6 months for the first few years. Because you can't really, you're not supposed to say, you're not really technically cancer free until you've been 5 years.
Oh. But
I feel great. So, I mean, I'm just going to roll with it and just keep trying to take care of myself. And, the doctor, I said, what do I, he's like, there's a lot of stuff that you can eat to be more healthy, like keep away from stuff that's got more than 2 or 3 ingredients if you can, go with real food, stuff like that. So I'm just going to keep doing that and playing music, and I'm happy as a clam.
And to wrap up this non-award-winning episode of the Talkin' Rock with Meltdown podcast, it's Firehouse singer Nate Peck. Now, we lost CJ Snare last year. Nate has taken over. Nate, he kind of earned his chance at this by being on American Idol. We'll get into that coming up here in a bit. And I had kind of forgotten that. He's just a kid from a small town in Michigan. We talk about that and much, much more. Nate Peck from Firehouse to wrap up Talkin' Rock with Meltdown.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, awesome. You got a lot of things happening this year. Let's talk about Firehouse first. Of course, the new single, Mighty Fine Lady. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so that song came about. I hit up Bill Leverty one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, let's work on a song." And he has all these riffs that he's put down into his computer, and he sent me over a riff, and I came up with the first verse, and the song was written rather quickly. But we're really excited about the song. We're excited to play it live.
Yeah, when was this?
Ooh, this was earlier this year, a few months ago.
Okay, so it came. Yeah, so it came, like you said, it came quickly.
Yes. Yep.
Now, were you guys in the same room working together, or was this one of those things where you were somewhere and he was, and you guys are kind of, trading files?
Yeah, this was kind of over the phone, kind of. I'd send a voice memo, on the iPhone. I'd send him over kind of like the melody and everything, singing, and he would send a guitar track back through the phone, and just kind of over the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, you hop in his studio and whatnot. So this is obviously the first song you guys have written together?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been working on any other ones?
We would like to work on some more. I think we've got a couple more in the works, but kind of let this one ride out a little bit and see what happens. Yeah.
Hey, let's get into your past here real fast, because as I was telling you before we started, I don't really know a whole lot about the American Idol thing, but you were on there 2 years ago, correct?
Yep.
And I read that you got a golden buzzer, and I'm not really exactly sure what that means, but that's where like you kind of bypass all the things to get to wherever somebody else has to. I don't know, how does it work?
Yeah, so American Idol, they do the open kind of door auditions, where they have everybody line up. I was fortunate enough, I knew somebody kind of like an AR. Somebody in LA had set me up with this thing, and he's like, "Hey, we can get you kind of through the back door." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's great." And the next thing you know, I'm on a Zoom call, kind of doing the pre-auditions before we go on to, to kind of determine if they're going to put you on the show or not. So I had 3 songs. It was I think it was a Foreigner song, a Talkin song, and a Great White song, and they wanted the Lightning Strikes Again by Talkin because it's high energy. But yeah, I passed that pre kind of audition phase, and they flew me out to Nashville to record.
So are you one of these guys, and I've talked about this before in my shows, are you one of these guys who was born in the wrong decade?
I'm so jealous of you guys. You guys had the greatest generation. I missed out. Yeah.
I see guys of what are you, 25?
24.
24. I see guys like you with the denim jackets and all the bands. I'm like, yeah, I did that a million years ago.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So then, you get slipped in through the back door, but I'm still a little bit. So who do you know and how do you get in? What were you doing? Were you playing around in bands or just singing? It's just stuff on the internet. How'd you do this?
I was in a previous band. They're out of Leonard, Michigan. Wanted. I was fronting that band for a while. I had left that band to pursue the American Idol thing. I was just doing covers and putting myself out there, and it just happened. Some guy hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, I really love what you're doing. Would you like to possibly be on American Idol?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Now, yeah. I forgot, you're from here, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Linden.
In Linden, okay. Man, you should have just come by the station. I totally forgot all about that. Yeah, that's wicked. So who gave you the golden buzzer?
Yeah, it was Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan.
Okay, but they all do it at the same time? So
it's the golden ticket. So
sorry, yeah.
They both vote, and it's a yes for me, yes for me. They got a 3 outstanding judge, yeses, but I was nervous. I was so nervous during that. Oh my God. It was a good time though. Luke came up, Luke Bryan, and sang "Here I Go Again" with me. That was great. Tall guy.
Yeah, one of my friends in Nashville was his neighbor for the longest time until a few years ago. They're still good friends, I guess. But so you sing "Here I Go Again." Have you ever reached out to David Coverdale or anything to see what he thought about it?
No, he's on a whole nother level than me. But
I know that, but the dude's on Twitter like 24/7.
Yeah, I would hope he watched it, but it'd be nice to talk to him or meet him one day. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've met a lot of the 80s rock idols, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
We were talking before you got on that you hung out and sang a lot with Jack Russell. When was the last time you saw him?
April 5th, 2024. Yeah, the day we lost CJ. That was the last time I saw him.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I saw him, I think it was November of 2023, as I was telling you just before. And I don't know how many shows he played after that, but it wasn't many. But Jack was a good dude. So you do the American Idol thing. Obviously, you're a rocker and stuff. And then who notices you, and how do you get hooked up with the Firehouse camp? Is that through Robbie Lochner from a band?
Yeah, sure is. Yeah, I was living in Nashville at the time, and just kind of going through a kind of like a silent period of where I wasn't having any gigs or anything, or going out with Jack. And Robbie had called me up one day. He's like, "Hey man, this is what's going on with CJ. He's going to be out for a little bit, undergoing some surgery." He's like, would you be interested in filling in for the time being? And I said, yeah. So the next morning, Bill called me. He's like, "Hey, it's Bill from Firehouse," and explained to me what was going on. And he's like, "Would you like to fill in for a little bit?" And the only song I knew was "Love of a Lifetime." So I had to learn 14 songs in about a week and a half. Yeah. And that's
and CJ's range is way up there.
Oh, it's unmatched. He's incredible.
Yeah, he was a good dude. I only had a chance to meet him a few times. I know Bill a little bit. Of course, I believe his wife is from here.
Yeah, Monroe.
Yeah. So, and I've talked to Bill a bunch of times about that. But CJ was a good guy. And this is a couple years ago. So obviously, you're only 24 now. I mean, you're just a kid singing in this band. Yeah. that had their heyday before you were thought of.
Yeah, that's true. Crazy.
So what was the first show like?
I was really nervous. There was no audition process or rehearsal or anything. It was just they flew me out, and my rehearsal and everything was sound check. So we had a long extended sound check, and we did the show.
Wait a second, hold on. So Robbie contacts Bill. Yeah. He contacts you. He sends you the song list, and then you did a show without doing a rehearsal?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So here's my question, because this is always fascinating to me. So when you're on stage, obviously you have to command the stage because you are the lead singer. But then again, you're playing for this band that you just kind of joined. How do you balance that?
Your stage presence kind of grows over time. In the beginning, I didn't really. I'm still working on it because I'm so. I would consider myself introverted. Not really good at talking to people. But I think the more shows you do, the better. You kind of vibe with the crowd. You can be able to talk to them a little better. It just takes time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course not only vibe with the crowd, but vibe with the band as well. I'm sure there's visual cues and whatnot too, right?
Yep.
And so you have to learn those guys.
Yeah, you kind of got to bounce off of them and feed off of their energy, and so it's good.
Yeah. So do you ask them about road stories from back in the day?
Always. Oh yeah. Yeah. Pretty great stories.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you're probably gonna get a bunch of your own here coming up, but yeah, that was a different era for sure. Where did you get your musical influences from?
I grew up listening to, my parents were always, me and my sister, they would always have music playing in the house, and it would be, Journey, Boston, Styx, Foreigner, Ambrosia, all the kind of the 70s early rock stuff. And then in my teenage years, kind of branched out into the Motley Crue. I was huge into Metallica. I was fascinated with them. Kind of branched out from that, got back into Talkin. But there was always music around.
And so you'd say primarily you're an 80s rock guy.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, it's the greatest music ever. Yeah.
Those are still some of your favorite bands. I mean, you mentioned them, obviously. Those are still some of your favorites.
Yep, absolutely.
And you've had a chance to go see and interact with some of these guys?
Yeah, I met Don in, I think it was Puerto Plata, or it might have been San Juan, Puerto Rico. This is before we went on to the 80s cruise. Met him. We were hanging out at the bar, and he comes over and talks to me for an hour and a half. Great guy. He's hilarious. But yeah, I met Don. I think I've ever met. I wish I would have met Brad Dell, incredible vocalist. Good Lord. But I met some pretty cool people. Yeah.
You went on the 80s rock cruise. Who else was on that cruise with you?
There was Faster Pussycat. There was Warrant, Christopher Cross, Sheila E., Tiffany, Men at Work, kind of the more kind of pop.
Wow. Yeah, that was an 80s cruise, wasn't it?
Yeah. Great. It's great.
The first time I ever met Don Dokken was 3 years after Monsters of Rock, and I was poor. And I just talked about this on the air the other day that I had to go pick him up at his hotel and bring him to the radio station for an interview. But my car was always broken, so I was using the station vehicle, which was a 1967 hearse. So I picked him up in a hearse. And he walked out of the hotel, and he stopped, and he said, "I thought I'd only be in one of these things once in my life."
Oh, shoot.
I've asked him about that in the past, and he doesn't remember it, but I got that story going for me.
That's great.
So what do you got going on with the band this year?
Yeah, so we've got roughly right around 50 or so shows this year. Our next show coming up is next Friday in Pennsylvania at Timber Rock Amphitheater with Lita and Warren.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how many shows have you played with Firehouse?
Oh, let's see. I don't know the exact number, but I'll kind of rough estimate it. I'd say probably around 100 plus shows, a little over.
So it's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
Yeah. And obviously, you knew CJ, and from all the accounts I saw, CJ gave you complete blessings, didn't he?
Yeah. Me and him, we were constantly on the phone. He would always be really supportive and give me pointers, and take your time on stage, because it's a lot of air, breath control. If you blow it all out, the first couple songs and you've lost your voice, you kind of got to pace yourself. And but he was a really, really great guy. Yeah.
Yeah. How exciting is it going to be? Well, have you played the new song live yet?
Not yet.
That's coming up next Friday, probably, huh?
We got a 45-minute set, so I don't think we'll be able to fit it in. The next show, in Wisconsin, or no, I'm sorry, it's either Minnesota or Wisconsin. We're going to do a headlining show, and we're going to throw it in for the first time. See how.
Yeah, that's great, man. So what do your parents think about all this?
My mom is thrilled. It's a bummer. I lost my dad when I was 6, so I'm sure he's watching from above. But yeah, I'm sure they would be really happy, or he would be really happy. But my mom's happy. Yeah.
Did she come out and see you play?
Yeah. She's been to a few shows. We had a show up at we were opening it for Winger at the Capitol Theater in Flint. That was cool. She came out to that one, and that was a blast.
Yeah, I saw Winger back in the day, and I took an ex-girlfriend of mine, and she didn't want to look at me for the rest of the day.
Oh, shoot.
You know how that goes. Back in the day, back 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He was a stud. Have you had a chance to meet the guys from Metallica or see them live since?
The last show I saw was the Hardwired Tour 2019 at Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids. That was cool.
Yeah, so you haven't seen the latest one where they do the no repeat stuff.
No, not the 72 Seasons. I wish I could meet them. I'd like to meet James. That guitar tone is insane. But
yeah, they say he's the best rhythm guitarist in metal and rock.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're obviously from a small town and stuff, and you're fresh out of school. I mean, for all practical purposes, how did getting on American Idol and being in now a touring rock band with the guys from Firehouse, how's that changed your life, especially coming from a small town?
It has always been a dream of mine to pursue music. I had an option to either go up to be a lineman up in Alpena, Michigan, or take 2 years off from high school and do TikTok and music. And I think I chose right. But the overall feeling of where I'm at now, I would say I feel pretty blessed. It's a really fortunate thing that it happened to me. And I'm really grateful. And I'm grateful for all the fans that continue to come out, because without you guys, there's no music. There's no live music. But I'm really, really happy. And I'm around really great bunch of guys who are super down to earth. And it's the best thing in the world.
And you say you were down in Nashville. Where are you right now, by the way? Are you in Michigan?
I'm in Holly. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. You should come to the station. What the heck, man? So anyways, so you were in Nashville. Did you live down there, or were you just down there for a little while?
Yeah, I was living 18th Avenue. Yeah, right by Music Row.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so were you playing gigs in the bars down there?
Yeah, I would skip around Kid Rock's place and just a bunch of kind of smaller gigs around town. But it's a hard town to break into because it's kind of, you're divided up into, country and pop and, all the other styles of music. Rock is kind of hard down there.
Yeah, I've spent a few nights in the Cadillac Pussy Lounge.
Yeah.
Anyway, but when you get an American Idol, did the doors open up a little bit?
Yeah. Some eyes were put on me. I think it helped boost to where I would later be at. I think it helped. Yeah.
I mean, it can't hurt when you're on national television like that.
Yeah. It was a good time. Met a lot of really cool friends, really talented people. And, of course, meeting Katy Perry and Lionel Richie and Luke Bryan. That was really cool. That was cool.
Yeah. Lionel Richie, have you watched the documentary about the We Are the World?
I have.
It's so cool. I mean, obviously eons before you were born, but that was like that was monstrous back in the day. Yeah.
It's crazy that, they stayed up that late, 3, 4, 5 a.m. just to record, over and over and over, get it perfect. It's quite impressive. It's fantastic.
Yeah. What do you do that, I still collect like records. I shouldn't say I still, since I started back up at in 2017. Is there anything old school you do?
Man, I might be prehistoric with what I do. I used to do it. It's kind of not music related, but love history. I would go through the rivers of Fenton and Linden and collect old 1800s medicine bottles.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
That's something a little different, but
yeah, maybe we'll have to meet up at Leroy's Lounge one day in Fenton.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. Well, Nate, I'll tell you what, we'll cut you loose here. As far as Firehouse is concerned, though, just a single out right now, touring for 2025. That's kind of what you got in store?
Yep, that's right.
And the single is still, if I'm not mistaken, just on the website, correct?
Just on the website. We did that so that no middleman can pick it up and then repost it, and then we've lost. We would like to recoup. Bill put in a lot of time, kind of mixing and mastering the whole thing. So we set it up like that so he could recoup, some of the money that was, we could use towards, another song or more time or gear and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Mighty Fine Lady, that's on the Firehouse website. Like you said, he got a bunch of dates this year, and hopefully I'll be able to check you guys out somewhere coming up in the future. But we appreciate your time, and good luck with everything you do, and say hi to the boys for me, okay?
I sure will. Thanks for having me, buddy. I really appreciate it.
If you're listening here in Southeast Michigan, they're playing the Uncle Sam Jam down in Woodhaven, which is a really fun festival to go see. It's a carnival/festival, all that kind of stuff. And that's in July, I believe July 12th. As a matter of fact, I know it's July 12th because the 11th is a Friday. I've got something going on that day. So, yeah, anyways, that's going to be good to see those guys. Bill Leverty's, like we talked about, his wife is actually from that area, too, of Michigan. You can see that interview as well as the one with Doug at WRIF.com and on my page. Of course, that's video. Sammy was just on the phone, which is fine. Love talking to Sammy Hagar as well, the Red Rocker. And love that you guys took the time to check out Talkin' Rock.
Thank you for listening to Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. You can help this podcast grow by giving it a 5-star rating and writing a review on Apple and iTunes. Plus, feel free to subscribe and share it with your friends. Until next time, thanks for listening to Talkin' Rock.